What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to be taking a little bit of a look at some new Saurian Republic creatures. We don't have many new Keyforge cards at all to look at the moment. After these two, it's going to go dark for new cards for a little while, so if anyone out there's got some cards to reveal, if anyone from FFG is watching, you know, can we see some new cards, please? But the good news is we have got a couple to look at today, starting off with Odoac the Patrician. 5 power, 0 armor. When you play, you capture an amber, but while you have amber on Odoac, your amber cannot be stolen. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is exceptionally good. And the weird thing is, right, we're seeing this as a little bit of a theme in Worlds Collide. Stopping your amber being stolen. Now, if we go back to Age of Ascension, one of the big themes in Age of Ascension was anti-reaping cards. We saw stuff like Zyzizik, Shockworm, and Pip, there were a bunch of others, that kind of stopped you reaping by stunning you when you tried reaping. We saw Bloodshard Imp, which sacrificed, or forced you to sacrifice every creature after you reaped, and that was a double-sided one, incidentally. And then kind of we went to the end with Barrister Joya, who just flat out stopped you reaping. One of the themes in Age of Ascension decks was, you shall not reap. Well, it seems like one of the themes we're seeing here in Worlds Collide is that stealing is going away, or at least it is giving you better ways to counter it. Shadows have always been good at stealing. You need look no further than the fact that in the first set they had both bait and switch and too much to protect. Bait and switch being so good it literally got errataed, so you could only steal 2 amber. Well, hopefully we got some tricks now to stop them. Gargantodon is one of the Saurian creatures we've seen so far. It enters play stunned, it only deals 4 damage when fighting, but it is a 16 power creature. And each amber that would be stolen is captured by a creature controlled by the active player instead. And then of course when that creature is destroyed, the amber goes back to the original player, so the stealing goes away. It's not the only one we've seen. I mean, probably the most dramatic one is Discombobulator, that literally is just an upgrade that gives you an amber bonus, and the creature to whom you attach it gains. Your amber cannot be stolen. I mean, as far as stopping stealing goes, it's a pretty dramatic way to stop it. Now, we have also seen information exchange, which is not exactly the same, but it lets you steal an amber, and if your opponent stole amber on your previous turn, or on their previous turn, you steal 2 amber instead. Not quite a stopping you stealing card, but it punishes your opponent for stealing. So that's kind of cool. Well, here we've got a similar thing going on. You capture an amber, and capturing an amber alone, right, that's still amber control, that's still taking an amber away from your opponent, it's still putting them further away from forging a key, but then your amber cannot be stolen, and sure, they can take out this dude, they can take out Odoac the Patrician, or indeed they can just get rid of the amber from it, but they've got to do it. They've got to go to the effort of doing it. And if they don't go to the effort of doing it, they're not able to steal your amber. And 5 power's not to be laughed at. Yes, there are plenty of creatures out there that can take it down, but not all of them can. One of the new cards we have seen that would be really good against this is Mug. Shadows card that I showed you rather recently. And what Mug allows you to do is move 1 amber from a creature to your pool and deal 2 damage to that creature. Now, that is not going to destroy Odoac. It'll still leave him with 3 power. But what it will do so beautifully is move the amber off. And as soon as you move the amber off, doesn't matter whether Odoac's there or not, if there's no amber on him, you can go about stealing. Now, this is, of course, extremely relevant because it is a Shadows card. Shadows are the ones that most like stealing, so it's going to be a really good card to get in Shadows. Your opponent's trying to stop you stealing. Don't worry. I can use this to take Odoac down. I adore this. And I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy this change that we're seeing in Worlds Collide. This idea of, you know what, actually you can't steal my amber and that's lovely. We've all lost games because of the amount of stealing that's been going on. Of course, we've all probably won games by stealing as well. So, yeah. If nothing else, it is going to be extremely interesting to see how that actually impacts the game, to see how this changes the way people play and think and all of that good stuff. It's going to be an interesting one. The other creature we've got to talk about today is the wonderfully named Terrordactyl, a 12 power, 0 armor creature, which right on the bat puts it the second most powerful creature we've ever seen. Behind Gargantodon, no argument there, and then right in line with Khalifi Dragon, that came around in Call of the Archons as a 12 power creature. Now, Khalifi Dragon could only be played if you had 7 or more amber, in your pool. And to be fair, that was actually really awkward, because of course if you had 7 or more starting your turn, you'd probably be forging. So you essentially had to put yourself on check +1, assuming keys cost 6, without playing Khalifi Dragon, and then you could play it. And it was a bit awkward, but you could roll. This you can just chuck down when you like. Now, like so many of these big creatures, like Gargantodon, it enters play stunned. And also like Gargantodon, it only deals 4 damage while fighting. And this seems to be another big trend we're seeing in Worlds Collide. Really big creatures do not deal full damage while fighting. Now, we did see a bit of this in Age of Ascension. We saw that Lollop the Titanic was an 11 power. It dealt full damage when attacking, but it did not deal damage when it was being attacked. And I said when attacking, Terrordactyl is actually when fighting, it can only deal 4 either way round. And I get it. I mean, we saw Roxador, which only dealt 2 damage when fighting. But honestly, a bunch of people, I've already seen some comments like, well, why is it a 12 power if it only deals 4 damage? And the answer is to stop things getting out of control. We don't want a game where you've got to play 12 power creatures or else you lose. No. So what this does is it gives you a 12 power creature, and alright, it's not the best attacker ever. It's still alright. But there are so many other things about it. I mean, principally, before the fight, you deal 4 damage to each neighbour of the creature Terrordactyl fights. So you are actually doing 12 damage when you attack with Terrordactyl. You're just doing it to both the neighbours and the active and splitting it, or the attacked, and you're splitting it between the 3 of them. That's still a lot of damage. That's still pretty gosh darn good. That is still going to have a rather large impact on the game. So I'm kind of alright with that. And then of course it's not just about the fact that you can't do 12 damage straight. You've got the skill I mentioned, but you can sit there and reap. And keep reaping. And keep reaping. And it's very, very, very hard to actually take this down. And it's probably worth pointing out here that we also have cards like, for instance, Might Makes Right. Might Makes Right is a great card that was in Brobnar, it was in Age of Ascension, and essentially you sacrifice creatures of power 25 or more in total, and then you get to forge a key at no cost. Well, imagine if you get a Saurian deck with Gargantodon and Terrordactyl, get them both down, Might Makes Right, boom, there's a key. And let's face it, your opponent might see what you're doing. You might have a Saurian turn and play down both Gargantodon and Terrordactyl, and your opponent goes, oh, I know they're playing Might Makes Right, I need to take down those 2 creatures. And you can, just so long as you can deal 12 to a Terrordactyl and 16 to a Gargantodon. And that's kind of my point here. I love this card. Yes, it enters play stunned, and entering play stunned sucks because you got to play it down, can't use it, it's exhausted. Then next turn, you unstun it, and then the turn after, you can actually use it. But it's still a 12 power creature. And if your opponent ignores it, giving you time to unstun it, then you're going to be able to wreak havoc with it. It does a lot of damage to both the one you attack and the neighbour either side. That's going to be pretty gosh darn good. And it's going to be great at reaping, hard to take down, and great combos of stuff like Might Makes Right. I like this. I think these are two very good creatures. But I would be very excited to know what you think about these new creatures, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk about Keyforge and all kinds of other games. And do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel and get some bonus pods if that's what you fancy doing. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching Wossy Plays.